The regular session of the Oregon City Commission order for Wednesday, October 18, 2017. Previous to this, we had an executive session of the City Commission pursuant to ORS 182.6602E and 2H to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions and to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. There will be no formal results of that coming forward tonight in our regular session. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Ide? Here. Commissioner Shaw?
Here.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Present.
Commissioner Mangelberg? Here. Mayor Holliday?
Here. If you please stand and join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so under ceremonies and proclamations, we have 3A 17546, Willamette Falls Media Center presentation. Melody Ashford and why don't you introduce her, Melody?
Hello, City Council. Thank you for having us. Commission, sorry, we have councils and commissions. See, I've already done this. So this is Sherry Morsch. She is one of our board members, and she is here to assist me with the clicking on the PowerPoint. So again, thank you so much for allowing us to be here and talk a little bit about your Community Media Center. We've been here in the community in a couple different facets of names, starting out as Clackamas Cable Access, going to Willamette Falls Television, and currently as Willamette Falls Media Center. So Willamette Falls Media Center primarily started out as a public access center and a community center that manages your public channel, your education channel, and your government channel. And with that, we provide training for cameras, editing, studio production, and as of late, we have a new podcast room, and we have some new 4K acquisition cameras, along with our kitchen suite. So for our community, I'm behind the PowerPoint, excuse me. For our community, we've been working, especially this last year, with working more with nonprofits and small businesses. We have settled pretty nicely into the new digs up there, and I say new, it was like 2009, but we've been continually building on what we started. So every year, we try to upgrade and so forth. And as you all know, media production and all that is just like going crazy with the changes in technology. It went from these big old huge cameras and now people walk around with their phones, you know, so it's pretty amazing. So we try to stay up with that kind of technology and be able to wrap that into what we do. We're also really have gotten into working with internships and vocational training programs. We work with some of the local areas, Easter Seals, WorkSource, CTEC, and also the college we've started some new programming with. So as of this last year, we're kind of out and about. We've done a lot of different programs. We work with OC Parks. We're working currently with Oregon City High School with some new programming there and starting a new media program. They were able to get some new equipment this last year. And we do your regular parades and other community events as the city requests and the community requests, in addition with working with the Oregon City Library and some of their PSA stuff. Also, in addition, we had Netflix living with us this last summer, which was pretty interesting, and we think that could be a good new relationship. That is if the series takes off. So if everybody watches it and they like it, then it's supposed to go on for 4 more years, but you know how TV goes, whether it lives or dies. But it looked interesting. We were a very small part of it. We were the AV studio, so I don't know the whole story, but it looked like it could be a lot of fun. It also is really in our wheelhouse of empowering youth and community media, or media in general, and so I think that's gonna spur hopefully a new interest in using media and using the studio. So looking ahead, we're going to continue working with nonprofits. We do have some new partners that we're working with that kind of evolved also from our open house, so we're excited to help them. And then we're continuing to do some facility improvements. So again, our whole mission is to connect the community through media production, media services, media training, and be another resource for small businesses, nonprofits, and the community at large to be able to have their own digital soapbox, their own place to have a voice and be part of the channel and connecting through that. So I'm open for any questions.
When you say future stuff going on as far as the facility, what are you talking about?
Well, we are working a lot more with Clackamas Community College. In fact, they just started teaching their first class at the facility, a motion capture class, which is pretty awesome. If you're familiar with motion capture, it kind of got a big name with Avatar, where they put on the suits with little knobby things all over them, and it's a new way to do creating frames and stuff for animation. We're working more with a group called CTEC, which works with youth and youth at risk and internship programs. This last year, we provided over 2,000 hours of vocational training and internship programs. And considering we're only open just over 2,400 hours, that's pretty good. So we're really working with the community on providing those kind of opportunities. So we're really much more than public channel management. We really are a community resource and a training place.
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
I'm just curious about how you advertise your services that you offer free to the community. How do you get that out, get the word out to people?
Well, several ways. We have a regular Facebook, and Sherry's been doing a really great job of getting more of our marketing out. We really, we're very small staff. We have 8 half-time people, and Sherry's new on our board this last year, right? Yeah, so. And she actually has a marketing background, so she's been handling a lot more of our social media. We advertise like in Trails News. We have Pamphlet Paper that we have a regular monthly community news show with, so that helps get it out there a little bit more. And
we're developing a monthly newsletter.
you can say that in there too.
We're going to be.
You're allowed to talk.
We are developing a monthly newsletter to inform all of our donors and our followers and our friends about everything happening in WFMC and all of the volunteer opportunities.
What is your greatest need at this point in time?
Gosh.
Don't say money.
I think just like Sherry's doing with our marketing, we don't want to be the best kept secret, and so we strive to do that. It's just, it's one of those things you need at the forefront, but it's hard to do it when we have a lot of other things that we have to do, just, the daily operations. So it's been a real blessing to have Sherry on board to be able to start to do that. So I think marketing is the biggest thing to let people know about our services and so forth. We're working on rebuilding our website. Again, we have a better relationship. I wouldn't say better, but I would say a more involved relationship with Clackamas Community College. And so we have some of their students getting involved to help rebuild our website. Yeah, I would say probably marketing is our hardest thing. Because it's like at the end of the budget, it's like, okay, so in marketing.
Tell your friends, tell the elementary schools. We are all throughout Clackamas County. So we're talking Milwaukee, Damascus, Wilsonville. Just tell your friends about WFMC and the contributions and outreach we do. And that a lot of the production that they can do is free, and they can learn how to produce their own videos. So there's tons of value.
Well, just coming here and giving this presentation, I mean, even if we could have it done on an annual basis would be really amazing. This goes out to the public as well, and people can share it around. So,
well, thank you for
coming tonight.
Yeah, and thank you. And I want to again thank the Commission for supporting us, and thanking Mayor Dan for helping getting us through to where we are today, because he was an integral part.
So Melody, you mentioned Netflix. Did they use your facility all, or they just
Oh, yeah.
kind of?
They did. They
Okay.
did. We were the AV studio, so within the high school, it's kind of the theater group has their thing, and then they had the AV club. So the studio was the AV club. So basically, they took all of our junk stuff in the basement we had and rebuilt a 1990s studio.
Okay. Didn't know if you got reimbursed at all for?
Yeah, there was some income that we got from that,
Okay,
so
good.
that was great.
All right, good, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank
Appreciate your
you.
time.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Okay, so we're on to citizen comments, and the citizen comments, citizens are allowed 3 minutes to present information relevant to the city, but not listed as an item on the agenda, and I want to be clear on that. So if you're here for the Perkinel subdivision, please wait until that item comes up. Prior to speaking, citizens shall complete a comment form and deliver it to the city recorder. City Commission does not generally engage in dialogue with those making comments, but may refer the issue to the city manager. Complaints shall first be addressed at the department level prior to addressing the City Commission. Mr. Gifford.
I noticed the AV guy waving a microphone back there. Is this on now?
We're good.
Good enough. Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners, my name is William Gifford, and I live in Oregon City. As a nice tie-in, one of the things that Willamette Falls Media Center also does is videotape the meetings of the Oregon City Business Alliance, which we appreciate. We give them some remuneration for that, but it's still a nice service that we have here in the community. I wanted to mention that next Tuesday is our the Oregon City Business Alliance's regular monthly meeting, and our guest speaker this month is going to be Russ Reinhardt of the Providence Willamette Falls Hospital, who will be talking about the new expansions, efforts that are going on with the hospital. This hospital is one of the city's largest employers, employing over 750 people, and what they do impacts our city. And so I want to let people know that that's a open to the public luncheon. It starts at 11:30 at the Abernathy Center next Tuesday.
Good. Thanks, sir. Anybody else on the list, Katie? Okay. Then, is everybody okay with the agenda?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
I think I wanted to add on settlement agreement and general release to item 8D for tonight's agenda.
Under the consent agenda.
Correct.
Okay. Then we'll move on to public hearings, PC 17-121, request for continuance on AP 17-04, appeal of Historic Review Board's August 22nd, 2017 approval with conditions of MD 17-01, MD 1702 through 06. Historic review, for the design of 6 cottage-style homes in Kitsima Historic District. Ms. Turway.
Thank you very much. The city has received a request to continue this hearing to November 15th. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Are we buttoned up against the 120-day rule?
The 120-day rule was extended.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Is there a motion?
Move to continue item 6A, PC 17-121.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Mengelberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Ide,
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Mayor Holliday.
Aye. Okay, on to PC 17-120, Parkinol subdivision, TP 17-02, 11-lot subdivision at Leland Road and Redaway Avenue, including utilization of an existing easement in West Leland Park. Before I go to Ms. Turway,
Bless you.
there are obviously a lot of folks here tonight that wish to comment on this. As most folks know by now, I'm pretty consistent and pretty brutal as far as keeping folks to their time limits. So make sure that you're trying to keep your comments under 3 minutes. Please, if you're just repeating somebody else's comment, say ditto or I or whatever, but making everybody sit through the same set of comments over and over again is not productive and doesn't let us get our job done. So I just appeal to you, if you're just repeating somebody else's statements, to keep those as short as you possibly can. Ms. Turway.
Thank you very much. Assistant City Attorney Carrie Richter will provide your legal disclosures.
Sorry. One public hearing on a land use application is scheduled for tonight. Well, two, but we're going to talk about this one first. A staff report has been prepared for this application, has been made available to the public 7 days before this hearing. The staff report identifies the approval criteria that apply to each proposal. Staff has analyzed the criteria which are contained in the staff report. The quasi-judicial hearing procedure that the commission will follow is set out in state law and the Oregon City Municipal Code. The hearing procedure steps are shown on the chart over here on the wall. Anyone wishing to speak should fill out a speaker's card and give it to the planning staff before the hearing. Speakers will proceed in the order in which their card is received. You should fill out your address on the card so the city will notify you of its final decision. For the public record, please begin all testimony stating your name. Testimony and evidence should be directed toward the applicable approval criteria. If you believe other criteria apply in addition to those addressed in the staff report, identify and discuss those criteria and explain how and why you believe they apply to the application under consideration. A person may submit any written material while the public record is open on each application. Any written materials received by city staff during the time period in which the record is open will be placed in the record. Written materials submitted during the hearing must be presented to the city staff in order to become part of the record. If a person intends for PowerPoint presentations, oversized poster boards, reports, pictures, or other exhibits used in their oral testimony to be placed in the record, copies must be submitted to the city staff while the record is open. If they are not given to staff, they will not be included in the record. Anyone wishing a continuance to present additional evidence and testimony or to keep the record open to respond to new evidence must make that request before the public testimony portion of this hearing is closed. If the City Commission makes a decision with which you disagree, any issue that you may wish to appeal must have been raised for the consideration of the Commission during these proceedings. Without raising the issue on the record with sufficient specificity and accompanied by statements or evidence that the city and all parties may respond, the issue will not be deemed appealable to the State Land Use Board of Appeals. In addition, the failure of an applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issues precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Now we will open the record as part of this public proceeding for Oregon City File PC 17-120 TP 17-02. I will ask, does any commissioner have any ex parte contacts, conflicts of interest, bias, or any other statement to declare? And has any commissioner visited the site?
I visited the site.
I visited the site.
Visited the site.
I'm certain, go ahead.
I visited the site.
I visited the site.
Does anybody in the audience have any questions for the commissioners about what they perceived during these site visits or any other questions? Seeing none, with the mayor's permission, we will commence with the staff report.
I'm going to open the hearing at this point.
Okay.
Thank you very much. The city received an application for a subdivision generally located on Leland Road near Right-of-Way Avenue, adjacent to and including portions of Wesleyland Park. The city processed that application as we do all subdivisions, and it became clear at that point that there are some concerns related to the charter. And so in August, we asked the City Commission if you would like to pull up this item to come before you. In doing so, you provided an additional opportunity for the public to comment in person, and you also extended the public comment period tremendously so new people could participate in this hearing as well. On the screen, you can see the applicant's property as well as Wesleyland Park to the north. Part of this application includes use of Wesleyland Park, which is city-owned property. The applicant does have an easement on that property and proposes to utilize portions of the site for a 12-foot road, a stormwater facility to cleanse the water from the 12-foot portion of the road, as well as a pathway and a turnaround as well. So there is a picture of the entire project. We have reviewed it in compliance with subdivision criteria and provided a staff report. We do have a recommendation for that staff report of approval. We have before you on the dais extra copies at the back of some recommended conditions of approval. Since the agenda was published, there are some red line versions to those for your consideration. Staff did not provide a recommendation on the charter to the City of Oregon City. Assistant City Attorney Carrie Richter will talk to you a bit more about the charter.
Thank you, Ms. Turway. I have a couple of slides that restate much of the material that we talked about during the work session, but I'm going to summarize it quickly in the interest of time. As you are aware, this Oregon City Charter sets forth certain limitations for activities that may occur in parks, in charter parks. And West Leland Park is a charter park, so you can move the slides forward. Oh, sorry. Duh. This is a picture of the proposed plan. The yellow area shows the easement area. As you can see, the proposal is to locate a 12-foot portion of the access road known as Redaway Avenue, along with a bump out area for a knuckle that will turn the road to the south, along with a swale that will remove water from the roadway, and a pedestrian path within the easement area. The easement that encumbers West Leland Park encumbers tax lot 401 in this picture. The easement was created in 1962, and it provides for road access to serve the applicant's property. It provides for road access only. The city acquired tax lot 401. At the time it acquired just 401 in 2002. At the time it was subject to that same 50-foot easement, allowing the applicant's property to use this area for roadway purposes. As you know, this will be the third time that the city or its residents have had an opportunity to weigh in on this proposal. 2 times the voters had voted it down. I wanted to point out the differences between the 2 proposals that were previously voted down and the current proposal. The previous proposals used the entire 50-foot easement area to support the development, including they located the full street and sidewalks in the easement area. At the previous proposal, all the utilities would be located within the easement area, including water lines and storm drainage that would serve the entire subdivision, and there would be an additional easement for an underground stormwater retention tank.
Well, I apologize because I didn't make the work session, so I'm going to have to ask you a couple of questions.
Yeah,
because
sure.
I haven't had a chance to watch it. So when you say an additional easement, what does that mean?
There was an additional amount of land that was part of the request that would have been subject to the review by the voter. So there would have been, the easement area would have been expanded beyond the 50 feet.
Okay.
Right now, there is an existing 50-foot private easement, and it would have been extinguished in favor of a dedication of the street for public use, which is sort of the typical thing that happens when we review subdivisions. The streets become public streets, right? They're not private anymore. With this proposal, they're proposing to use only 12 feet of the area plus the knuckle for roadway purposes. So this has significantly shrunk the proposal to include just roadway-related activities, not utilities, not things that have nothing to do with transportation. This is just a road. All utilities except for the swale, which will collect runoff only from the road, are outside of the easement. And a majority of the road is located on the applicant's property. The 12 feet of area that will accommodate the road plus the swale will stay in a private easement. The city owns the underlying fee of the land still, just as the current arrangement is now. There are, as I mentioned, there are certain activities that require a voter approval before the city can do them, and they are set out in section 41 of the city charter. The commission may not do any of the following listed acts with regard to any designated city park or part thereof without first obtaining approval of the legal voters of the city. Said acts are as follows. These are the two that are relevant to the matter before us. B is vacate or otherwise change the legal status of any park. And the other one is construct permanent buildings or structures thereon other than for recreational purposes and park maintenance. So those are the two components of this provision that could be that are at issue here. The first one, go ahead.
Go back for a second.
Yeah.
So in the last sentence of that, it said, in any case where at the date of adoption of this section, there are existing structures which do not comply with this provision, such structures and any additions, alterations thereto are exempted from the provisions of this section. So my question is, Chapter 10 of the Section 41 of the Charter were adopted when, Ms. Riggs? 71?
I would have to look, but I don't know the answer off the top of my head.
I'd like to know that before we close this hearing.
Okay, we will look.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. So the first question that the charter that I just mentioned is change the legal status of any park. And so what is the legal status of this area of the park? And my sort of best summary of the current legal status is that it is owned by the city, and which has been designated for park uses. It is subject to a roadway easement allowing for use by the neighboring property owner and its invitees. I mean, when the city acquired the property, it was subject to this roadway easement. So the fact that the asphalt wasn't there doesn't change the fact that it was purchased with this limitation. Does this proposal change the legal status? So the easement predates the park, and as a result, the public's ability to use this area has always been limited in some respect to the applicant's right to use the easement for roadway purposes. The proposed easement area will remain entirely within city ownership for park purposes subject to ICON's use. So in other words, the city can still use the road as it sees fit so long as it doesn't interfere with the reasonable use by the applicant and their use. And so there will be no public dedication of the easement area. So it won't become a public road. So, for example, let's say, I mean, it's hard for me to give you a real life example, but in theory, the city decided to have an event there and decided to use the road for some event and decided that it was going to put up carts or close the road or something like that. It could certainly do that as long as it didn't interfere with the easement rights that the applicant holds. So as long as the city let the applicant use the road, the city is still free to use the road however it wants, as a park for park purposes. So this is not converting this easement into a public easement.